Hey there, sports fans. Mike Crook coming at you with another episode of Laces Out. Episode 19 is chocked full of content because guess what? Football's back, baby! But seriously, the Broncos just dropped a fun little bombshell for the Mile High City today, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, as well as some great primetime contests in the NFL, both Sunday and Monday night. How fantasy went, how pick'ems went, how Florida State and CU went, and the Broncos' first week of the NFL season. So all that and more to come, so stay tuned. All right, so first off, brand new little tidbit of information that the Denver Broncos dropped this morning as of the recording of this, September 9th. The Denver Broncos are actually fully going forward with plans for a new stadium with a retractable roof to be put up in the Burnham Rail Yard, which is like a mile and a half or so away from the current Empower Field at Mile High Stadium. So very cool. We'll throw up some footage of kind of what that place looks like right now. But they released a nice little teaser promo video on it. A lot of cool information. But the biggest takeaways from this, honestly, two big takeaways from this. One, this is being a fully privately funded project. So what they say is no taxpayer increase. Great news for the city of Denver, that's for sure. Secondly, a retractable roof. So guess what? Denver will now be able to put their name in the hat when it comes to bids for Super Bowls going forward. Now, right now it's slated that this stadium should be ready by the start of the 2031 NFL season. So we'll see. But apparently there's a clause in the current contract with the current location at Mile High that if things are a little delayed or whatnot, they can still use the existing stadium that season. So hopefully, fingers crossed, no issues, no delays, maybe even ready early, but we'll see. So there's not a lot of stats on what is going into the stadium as far as like capacity, things of that nature, but with it being at the old rail yard, it would be really great if they could somehow put like the light rail to come right up alongside of it. That would be perfect for, off-site parking where you could just jump on the light rail, swing over to the new stadium, hopefully it's got a cool name, and check out a great Broncos game. And Super Bowl going forward. How cool would that be if the Broncos became only the third team in NFL franchise history to actually win a Super Bowl in their home stadium? I mean, a lot has to happen for that to happen, but wouldn't it be cool? And speaking of the NFL, first week of the NFL season is officially in the books. Whoa. Okay, hold up. Scrubbing back through this whole video, I completely forgot to talk about the Broncos' win against the Titans. So even though I said I was going to talk about it, I never actually talked about it. So if you want to see that video, check out the instant reaction on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and Insta and all that stuff. So check out the instant reaction there. And my fantasy team, while we did get the dub, it was not a pretty win. A lot of my players underperformed. Kittle is out for an indefinite amount of time, which sucks. Not enough to be on IR, so I can't put him in an IR slot. So I don't know what I'm going to do for week 2, but thankfully, my opponent also underperformed. I'm not naming names. I doubt he'll see this, but either way, not naming names. But thankfully, we both kind of had a crappy week. But I squeaked by with a win. So hopefully, better production in week 2. But my pick'ems actually did really well. I went 13-3 on the week. So awesome on that. And if you do want to join the pick'em group, links in the bio, links in the description of this. I'm not sure where you're watching this at, but check it out. solo.to/free sports press. Links are straight in there to go and join both our college and professional pick'em groups. Free of charge to play. It's hosted by ESPN. And you know what? If we do get enough people to join in, cash prize at the end of the season. Lowest week or worst record of your team for the season will be dropped. So if you join now, your lowest week would be 0-0. Just saying. Now let's jump to the world of college football. First up, Florida State. I mean, I don't know about you, but if you're a Noles fan, you're still riding that high of that game against Alabama in week 1. I mean, I'm still smiling about that every time I think about that game. And then East Texas A&M, the Lions, I think, they come rolling into Doak. And this game was close right up until the team arrived on the field. This was just, as expected, a bloodbath. I mean, let's be real. On paper, should have been a cakewalk. In reality, absolutely was a cakewalk. And the only downside of this game was the fact that we lost the shutout. And had this been a 77-0 blowout, then it would have actually set a program record for largest shutout victory. To date, that record still goes back to a 74-0 shutout win back in 1949 against some like airfield team. I don't remember the name. But still, this does tie the largest margin of victory in general with that game, 74-point dub. So good job for the Noles. Good job for the coaching staff in keeping this team grounded. They do now have a week off. They won't go back into action until the 20th of September when they host Kent State for the final game in Doak in September. So good job, Noles, and hopefully you guys can get rested, tweak whatever needs to be tweaked, and come out strong against Kent State for another solid W. Next up, in the Big 12, we talk about CU taking on the visiting Delaware, Blue Hens? Okay, Blue Hens. They needed this game after a very disappointing loss against Georgia Tech to open up the season. Because let's be real, that's a game that CU should have won. I mean, I cannot get over it. You have 3 turnovers on your first 3 possessions, and we come out with 1 touchdown. So frustrating, so aggravating. But this team regrouped, and they played a lot better against Delaware. And Coach Prime, I don't even want to say if we have like traditional QB 1, 2, and 3, because he played all 3 QBs from our bullpen. And each of them did okay in their own right. Obviously, Juju, very young kid, played a few series there. Not terrible stats. Saltier, not bad either for him. Surprisingly, Staub, he did really well. I know that my son, he's definitely not a huge fan of Staub, but you know, the stats don't lie, and he played pretty well. And as it was, I believe, just named, is that he's actually going to be the starter for the game this weekend against Houston on Friday. So road test at Houston, Ryan Staub under center. Could be a fun game to watch. So we'll talk about that more in our picks. But the CU came out of Folsom Field with a win, which is much needed. So we got some positive momentum going into the game against Houston on Friday. And you know what? I have a good feeling that this game is going to be competitive. Houston's really good. They're sneaky good. So they are undefeated right now, but doesn't mean that they're not invulnerable. I don't want to talk too much about that game. We'll talk about that in the picks. So either way, good job, CU, and looking forward to seeing what you can do in Houston on Friday. All right, let's jump to the meat and potatoes of this week's episode, our picks. So we didn't do it last week or even the week before, but we would like to jump into doing our top 3 picks for both the ACC and the Big 12 each week. So coming up first, we'll talk about the ACC. Now, our top 3 games this week actually start on Thursday, so hopefully we get this posted in time for the Thursday kickoff. But we have NC State, undefeated NC State, traveling to also undefeated Wake Forest for a Thursday night kickoff. This is tough because, honestly, I think that NC State could actually come out of this game with a dub. Not going to lie, it's not going to be like a walk in the park. Both of these teams have some pretty good defensive players, so it could actually be like a slugfest where whoever has the ball last, and if it's close enough for a one possession score, could walk away with the dub. So I'm actually calling this one NC State, 6 points or less. Close win, entertaining game though, to kick off the weekend. Next up, number 12 Clemson hosting undefeated Georgia Tech. Don't let Georgia Tech's record fool you. I don't think that they should be undefeated. They should have taken an L to CU to start the season, but I digress. I'm not salty about that, maybe just a little bit. But the Clemson Tigers should be able to take a dub out of this one fairly easily because on paper they should be just completely destroying an overmatched Yellow Jacket team. I don't see this one being like a dogfight like in the fourth quarter, but I also don't see it being like a 21-point just blowout. I can see this one being close to the first half. Clemson starts to pull away in the third, getting somewhere between a 14 and 17-point win on this one, honestly. But either way, Clemson does get the dub, continues to right that ship from the loss to LSU, and keeps marching on to hold on to that ACC championship title. Last in the ACC, battle of the undefeated South Florida teams. Like, who's going to lay claim as being the number one team in South Florida? Is it going to be the undefeated Bulls from the University of South Florida, who are number 18, by the way? Or is it going to be undefeated top 5 team, number 5, Miami Hurricanes, also 2-0? Honestly, oh my God, no one could have picked that this would be a battle of the undefeateds, like, at all. South Florida somehow takes care of Florida, who, in my eyes, is overrated, but that's a little biased. But can they continue that derailment of just destroying teams and taking out Miami as well? I mean, South Florida already took out Boise State to start the season, takes out Florida, and now they go and travel to Coral Gables. Is it? No, I'm not even sure who's hosting that one. I'll put it up here and who's hosting. Either way, it's going to be one hell of a game. And I don't even know how to pick this one. I'm going to go with my gut. Miami has this one. But 10 to 14 points. South Florida is going to be sneaky good. They're going to find a way to keep this one close. But in the end, Miami does just enough to pull away and get somewhere between a 10 and 14 point win in this one. So close but entertaining game. Sadly, goes to the Canes. As a Florida State fan, that hurts, but it is what it is. So good luck, Bulls. You're going to need it. All right, next up we move to the Big 12. Our top 3 picks this week. We're actually going to hold off on CU just because we like to cover CU in general, so we're going to talk about them last, even though the game comes up first. But first we're going to go to K-State and Arizona. K-State's had kind of a rough season. Yeah, they're 1-2 right now, and they're traveling to the undefeated Arizona Wildcats. Tough place to play, and K-State's definitely had some bumps in the road this season. But, you know, these are games that they could have won. You know, the 2 losses that they suffered, could have won those games. But Arizona's going to be a really true test. Have they figured out how to correct the mistakes that have just plagued them in those 2 losses and be able to rise up and even their record and knock off the Wildcats for their first loss? Or are those 2 losses just going to loom large in the back of their head? And I don't see that happening for K-State. I actually see them figuring out ways to correct their mistakes from previous weeks, righting the ship, and getting a very close but well-deserved win at Arizona, walking away with a 7-point or less dub to go back to Manhattan with. So good luck, Wildcats, on that one. And next up we have kind of a fun one for us because it's Big 12 versus ACC. So we have Pitt hosting West Virginia on Saturday. And this is a battle of a 1-1 West Virginia team taking on the 2-0 Pitt Panthers. And I don't see West Virginia being able to hold their own in this one, honestly. I actually see Pitt being able to pretty much control this entire game from the first whistle. And coming out of this one with probably a 17-point win, honestly, which is probably a much larger win than it will be on paper. But I don't know, something just tells me this is going to be a fairly comfortable win that Pitt's going to close out the game with. And lastly, the pick that I want to talk about, CU travels to Houston. 1-1 Buffs versus 2-0, what are they, Cougars? I don't even know. I think they're the Cougars. Either way, Houston's going to be tough. This is probably a really good test for CU after that Georgia Tech game to see just how much this team has been able to correct their mistakes from week 1. Because let's face it, yes, Delaware was a tough test at times, but they were never really just going to be dominated by the Blue Hens. It was a really good kind of a revamped game for them to kind of retool some things, tweak things that are wrong. So with Deion Sanders naming Ryan Staub the starter on this one, I see this one as actually being a very competitive game. I actually liked a lot of the reads that he made in that game against Delaware, and I think having a full week, he'll probably be playing with the first-team offense, getting against the first-team defense. So he'll be able to get a lot of really strong reps in there with that scout team. And that being said, I can't see CU losing this one. I don't know. Prime and company are going to have this team amped up and ready to go. I think that they're going to have a really solid game plan going into Houston on Friday night. And I see CU coming out of this one, not a blowout by any means, definitely not. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a tough game, entertaining game, but in the end, CU comes out of this with somewhere between a 10 and 14 point win. So fingers crossed, get that one right. Sco Buffs, let's take it to Houston. All right, so there you have it. All major topics covered, and I would like to touch on one other thing, though. I have picked up on a new podcast that I've been listening to, actually watching on YouTube. It's called Travis Take Two. It's with the Travis brothers. They just released their second episode a few days ago. It's a really great podcast. So if you're a Florida State fan or just a sports fan in general, which I hope you would be if you've been watching this, that you go and check it out. It's got a lot of fun tidbits on just how Jordan's done with his time at Florida State, since his time with the Jets and getting drafted, and just things that happened that made him decide that what, my time is up. This is not going to work out for me, unfortunately. So time to refocus my life. And they had a great I can never pronounce his name, comedian for their first week, Bert something or other, starts with K, and then Jared Verse was their guest on this second episode. Great talks with all those guys, both those guys. Highly recommend you check it out. I'll throw a link in the description on this one. But yeah, 2 thumbs up on that one. Looking forward to the next episode. So before we close out, if you like the episode, thank you so much for making it this far. I have no idea how long this is going to be after we cut everything together and do all the editing. But appreciate everyone for all the support and patronage. If you like it, like the video, subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications, so that way you know when all new episodes get dropped. I do like to drop one each week. Sometimes we throw on special episodes, so we'll see. But thank you again for everything. And until next time, take care.